So at the beginning of 1990, Sucker Records present us with a platinum disc for our album Remote.
Success?
Felt like success.
Thank God we did start the year that way, because we had no, I wouldn't say a setback, but it was a kind of challenge. We presented 10 pristine songs to our record company, and we heard that they didn't like the album that we had presented to them as demos.
I think it's because of the success of our first two albums, and they had signed Massive Attack, and they had been having some success with Nena Cherry. And they were a small record company, Sucker Records, so they only had a finite amount of resources. So I think they put the brakes on us a bit. Our manager was always pushing us to write all the time, because he said he was unsure how long they were going to be around. So I think you and I were trying to preempt it a wee bit by writing these songs.
I think we were on the pace that we were on from 1987, 1988, 1989, and it was like, okay, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep going.
Yeah, it's not easy to discard all these songs that you've written, but we had to shake that off, step up to the plate and start writing again. But as luck would have it, Glasgow had been nominated for the European City of Culture in 1990. So we had to write a new batch of songs in an environment that was as vibey and as exciting as that.
Oh, it was completely vibey. There was theatre, there was music, there was drama, there was artwork coming flying in from all over Europe, and the place was in a creative tumult, and there was something new happening on the streets every 5 minutes.
And then we wrote the album in my house in Quarriers Village, which is a beautiful village. My address was Love Avenue, which intersected
very appropriate for you guys.
Hope Avenue. And just down the road,
Charity Avenue?
Faith Avenue?
Faith Avenue.
But I'd invested in a recording studio with my manager called St Clair's. So because we had our own studio and all these amazing musicians were flying in from all over the world to celebrate Glasgow's City of Culture, we used some of the most diverse and disconnected musicians you can imagine. And a case in point, this was you pushing this with Peary Willie, the guitarist, and Ali being the fiddle player 1 week. Then the next week, Lenny Pickett and the Borneo Horns playing some like urban street funk with just 4 horns and a drummer.
That's something that we could see was a possibility from all the talent that was coming in, but it was also inspiring you to think, do you know what, no musical genre is out with our grasp here.
Why Peary Willie and Ali Bain? I mean, I knew who Ali Bain was. He's one of the best.
Well, I'll tell you the story about Peary Willie. Is Peary Willie played with Duke Ellington. He played with Count Basie.
Oh, wee.
He was the guitarist that you would call up when you were playing and trying to assemble a band in Scotland.
I can't remember who I asked. I don't think they had representatives or anything like that, but I remember saying, "What should we get them something, when they're coming in the studio?" And it was made known to us that Peary likes a plate of Fonzies and a wee dram.
A plate of Fonzies?
Plate of Fonzies.
You mean fondant fancies?
Fancies. But it was relayed to me, Fonzies. So I went out and bought some Fonzies and a wee half bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, well, there we are, and you know.
And there was an empty plate and an empty bottle by the end of the sessions.
And a slightly listing Peary.
Well, no, he didn't look any different.
You know, he didn't look any different, but and he wasn't playing any different either. But Peary Willie with Lenny Pickett and the Borneo Horns is, I would say, an eclectic record. So Hue and Cry's Insane early years work schedule continues. If we're not recording, we're playing. If we're not playing, we're recording or writing or all three at the same time. We get a call to do some headlining at possibly numerically the biggest gig we've ever played, which is the Big Day in Glasgow.
We got booked to do 2 gigs in the one day.
Right.
We had a good manager. So we played during the day with our full band at Glasgow Green. What I remember most is trying to keep my mum out of Aswad's dressing room. I'd say, "Where's my mum?" She's in Aswad's dressing room. And I can go, "Mum, how lovely boys these boys, aren't they?" And then I don't remember this as well as you do, but then we played another gig at night.
Played a gig at night in front of 100,000 people at the Hoch in Glasgow Green.
I'm dead on the end of your wire.
But we went out there, piano, vocal, guitar, vocal, and like the kind of insanely confident men we were, we completely nailed it. I mean, I think we did really well.
You sang really well, but it looked quite awesome. I don't use the word awesome very often.
It isn't awesome.
But it was quite awe-inspiring when you look at that footage and the crowd just keeps going and going and going and going and going.
There was just this very strong collective sense of the country raising itself up on different levels, whether it was musical levels or whether it was political levels. And we were right at the heart of all that.
So we're halfway through making Stars Crash Down in the middle of 1990, and I can't remember who instigated this. I think it might have been my manager that said, Greg, you need to get out of the city. But we went to the south of France to a recording studio to continue making Stars Crash Down. I'd never heard of Miraval.
Yeah, right.
People that had gone to Studio Miraval, like The Cure, AC/DC, Wham, Pink Floyd, Level 42. I mean, it was a renowned place. So it had a track record of producing hits.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the reasons why we went there. We were slightly inexperienced, the people that were working with us, because they posted the tapes via the Royal Mail. I took some in my car because I was driving over, because I wanted to. That's a famous drive when you go crossing the ferry and down through France. And we got there and we waited for a few days and the tapes never turned up. So there's half a Hue and Cry album sitting in a mail depot in France somewhere.
Don't tell me.
There was definitely change in direction after France because of this event.
Right, okay.
But it didn't make France any less enjoyable because we recorded some great stuff there. We did the drums for My Sort of Heart. We did the vocals for Late in the Day.
We also did a song which I always thought when we did this song, this was a brand new direction for us, which was a song called Engine of Light. And it was so loose, but also so spontaneous, but also so groovy. It was a literate bohemian lyric, and I remember that was infused with the spirit of Miraval, because it was also very pleasant to be there, Gregory. I'm not going to deny it.
Food was good.
The food was exceptional rural food. We stayed in our own little houses, little rooms on the compound with beautiful kind of swinging doors. And do you know what else there was in that place? There was a thing called Minitel, which was the internet before the internet. So you basically had a terminal where you could look up information. So France had created its own internet before the internet actually existed. I was there, I remember thinking, this is the future, France is the future, Europe is the future.
I do like French sense of humour though, because Jacques, I think his name was, the owner of the studio, he would come in every morning and we would sit having breakfast and he'd say, "Good morning, English pigs." I went, "But we're Scottish." Good morning.
But we get some results, I think, from our time in the south of France, chilling out in the south of France, recording beautifully.
So we come back from Miraval in the south of France and we go to another iconic studio, which is Castle Sound outside Edinburgh, heading toward North Berwick. Castle Sound is very famous because the Blue Nile recorded the first two albums here. But the thing is, the Blue Nile took awful long time to make albums, so you could never get into Castle Sound. So for whatever reason, that time just worked perfectly for us. And the guy that was the engineer there, Callum Malcolm, who co-produced the Blue Nile stuff, he said, the studio's free, I'm free. So we brought all our tapes back, not by the Royal Mail this time, and we went to Castle Sound to try and finish the record. Callum had all the synthesizers that the Blue Nile had used, the Jupiter 8s, and all the Moog Smokes and all that. So he kind of dealt with She Makes a Sound, and he was really instrumental in making the lushness of She Makes a Sound.
There's also another track, Vera Drives. When Callum and you got their hands on it in Castle Sound, it became this very light 8080 electronic, light, beautiful soul.
That's Callum though.
That's completely perfect for the song. I mean, and one of the most beautiful tracks is a song called Making Strange, which was just a Latin extravaganza with you on saxophone and playing piano and the great Eddie Reader singing, sinuously weaving her vocals in and out of my vocal.
Making strange, so I can say that.
I had to go and pick her up at Edinburgh Airport, so I drove from North Berwick up to Edinburgh Airport, and this is all pre-mobile phones, so I knew what flight she was getting, and I was standing at the arrivals lounge. It was a kind of basement type thing, multiple pillars, so I was kind of looking around, and everybody came off the plane, and I was like, she's not on. And I saw this woman standing, and I went over and said, are you Eddie Reader? She said, are you Greg Kane? And I didn't recognise her. So we kind of laughed at that, and we went out to the car park. Now at that time, I had a Porsche, and I got to the car, and I beeped the car and lights went off, and Eddie looked at me and looked at the car and said, I'm not getting in that. And I thought, what do you mean? This is my pride and joy.
Unacceptable in the 80s.
No, she wasn't. And I thought, Eddie, there's no other way we're going to get to the studio. I thought, how do I get in it? I drove like a priest all the way to the studio so I wouldn't freak her out. But she doesn't like fast cars, Eddie.
Yeah, but she sang like an angel on the record. Sang like an angel.
Remembrance in Gold. She's beautiful in Remembrance in Gold. Where she's doing all the scatting thing at the end. So I think for me, the memory of Castle Sound is Callum gathering it all up together and realising a lot of it.
And I loved the cover of Stars Crash Down for so many different reasons. One is that the title of it is such a grandiose phrase, Stars Crash Down, but the way they did it was to pin a wispy strip of paper with 4 pins. It looked as if it was about to fall off the front of the cover. The star was a black iron 6-pointed star that they had made especially for the cover, and they kind of put it on a stick and spun it round, and it was beautiful deep bluey hues that was behind the picture, and right in the middle of it there was this Adonis with his shirt off,
and
which was you.
And whose idea was it for me to take my shirt off?
I think it was your idea.
Was it? Stuff. I am not vain. If anybody knows me, I am not a vain person. But I don't know what relevance me being half naked is.
Don't put it on me. You were as fit as a fiddle, and I think it might have been one of Michael or Nash, I can't remember, the man or the woman, said, you know, you look as if you're looking quite trim, Greg. So we'll see if you can sort of start
get your kit off,
spin around with your excellent silky torso. So I think it might have been those demon London creatives who got you to do something that you wouldn't otherwise normally do.
So it's the middle of 1991. Our album's mixed and finished. The artwork's all done. Singles are picked. And we got offered a European tour with Joe Jackson. I mean, I've been a fan of Joe Jackson since I was a kid. Because he was a piano player.
Yeah.
And you didn't get many sort of pop star punk, more punk than pop star piano players that were playing edgy, sort of jazz, wordy kind of. He had everything for me, Joe Jackson. So the last time we played as a band was 1990 at the big day, and that was our big, massive 11-piece band. We couldn't take that on tour in Europe. It just wasn't financially viable. So we stripped the band back and we started rehearsing to see if it would work. Our drummer Mark at the time, because we were going to Europe, he'd suggested that we do a cover that would appeal to the European audiences because they'd never heard of us.
Yeah.
So Mark suggested Name of the Game by ABBA. But also there was logistics of doing a tour like this. So all of us, bar our backing vocalist, Sweet Davy, qualified for the young person's rail card.
Yeah.
So we all applied for a young person's rail card. Joe Jackson's crew said they would take all our gear and we would travel by train.
I remember thinking, if this train doesn't come, we won't be able to get to this next gig.
Did you ever miss a gig?
I don't think we ever. I know we were absolutely assiduous going around Europe, turning up, having great performances. I mean, I have totally vivid memories of standing opening for Joe Jackson at the Frieze. The two ones I remember is the ancient theatre in Orange in France, which was like an old Roman amphitheatre.
Looking for the heart of Saturday night.
Playing in the Teatro de Musica in Barcelona, which is stained glass windows all over the ceiling and the side of the walls, and the light just sort of streaming in like in a kaleidoscopic way as we are playing away. But it was a brilliant experience, and we were very professional. We made all our trains and we didn't miss a single gig.
Down in a cool, 'cause we're dreaming of them Saturdays.
They released the album Stars Crash Down whilst we were away, and it came straight into the charts at number 10. It was a top 10 album.
Yes, very pleasingly. I have to say, the most significant thing about this record, which you may or may not know, Gregory, is that it's the record that found me my partner.
Well, yes, I've kind of said to you when I was putting all these archives together, I had a sense of regret about why didn't we still use the American producers for Stars Crash Down. And I remember the next day you and I were gigging, and I said that to you the next day. I said, Pat, it could have been better for us. And you said,
No, my dearest partner Indra Adnan, as soon as she heard Stars Crash Down, she said, I need to know this guy better. So we're taking every opportunity to play, but history doesn't stop. So we find ourselves in August playing a festival in a location called Sopot. And I didn't realise it was a place until later on, but at the time they were using it as a kind of mnemonic. SOPOT, stamp out piracy, our task.
It was in Poland.
It was in Poland, so there was a lot of bootlegging going on in Poland at the time. And so we were part of an event where we would be playing and encouraging people not to bootleg songs from the West. And now this is exactly at the time when the Soviet Union is beginning to crumble, and we are playing in Poland. And I was slightly worried. You're watching it on the nightly news. Gorbachev is being led down the stairways by the generals as the whole system falls apart. And I remember saying to the Polish aides and helpers that were there, are you not a bit worried about this whole thing falling apart? And do you not think the tanks are going to start rolling again? And they looked at me as if I was crazy. They said, this is a country of which we neither know nor care. And also, another indelible memory, we came out to meet the fans at the end of the gig, and this little guy says, hello, 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 in Scottish accented Polish English. I said, yes, he says, can I help you? He said, I am from Little Scotland. I am from Little Scotland. And he was there, he gave me this whole report about how there was a community in Gdansk, which was next to Sopot, called Little Scotland, and that's what he was born in, and he'd come along to tell me that. So again, this is a very European pair of years, actually, delightfully so, and it's indelible in my memory. I loved the experience. We came back feeling pretty confident, and there was another challenge at our feet because we were told that a certain American music business luminary was going to be flying over to the Greenock Arts Guild where we were playing a gig, and this guy, his name was Seymour Stein, one of the great A&R men, who was coming over to see Hue and Cry. I guess the idea was that this was a route into America. So after the gig, which was a great gig, we all travelled through to the famous Horseshoe Bar in Glasgow to meet Mr. Stein and his musical colleague. Now, the problem was that his musical colleague was there because Seymour Stein was suggesting that we did co-writes with this musical colleague, or that we needed to strengthen our songs in some way, which I was highly objecting to.
I think in Seymour Stein's defence,
all right,
he regarded you, and he told me this is one of the best singers he'd ever heard. But he regarded us as songwriters as some of the most awkward songwriters he's ever heard.
No.
So he wanted us to sing more popular songs.
Yes.
He had a point.
He maybe had a point, but I think we were just in a state of affairs where we were incredibly proud of what we were doing. I was incredibly proud of you. I thought we were visionary talents, and the key thing that broke the camel's back was that the guy who he wanted us evidently to get a vibe with and be writing songs with, not only did he have one of those swoopy haircuts that come down like that and then over his ears and down the back as a mullet, but he had famously a leather piano key tie. And in my infinite wisdom, I said, I don't think I can work with someone who wears a leather piano key tie. And from that fatal conversation, Mr. Stein flew home, not very well disposed towards us. I possibly could have been more tactful about the man's dress sense. That might have helped. I'm laughing, but I'm crying.
I'm leaving it there. To do these documentaries, I've built evidence-based timelines.
Did you have?
And you and I have been amazed at the amount of gigging we did. At the end of 1991, we went on tour again. So we had dealt with the joy of Stars Crash Down being a top 10 album, the joy of Europe beginning to go, oh, Hue and Cry, but also the pain of My Sort of Heart not being a hit, Long Term Love Is a Pain not being a hit, and She Makes a Sound not being a hit. So, I mean, we were getting the lumps kicked out of us. And then we had to go back out and tour again. Big smiles. Hello, everyone. After the year we've had.
Frustrating you.
And, God, talk about having thick skin. This is the tour where at the end of it, we're in our Town and Country in London. And Sucker Records, who have steered us through the last 5 years, we've had so much joy and fun and success. The accountants looked at the numbers and said, Hue and Cry, you owe us too much money. For us to renew your contract, which is up for renewal, is going to cost us X amount of £1 million. So we think it's best that we cut our losses and run. And we were told that just before we went on stage at the Town and Country.
And in the audience at the Town and Country was a lot of other record companies there to see us and there to see.
Yeah, because we did a top 10 record. We played the Royal Albert Hall at the beginning of the year. Everybody's going to say, why are they dropping this band?
I'll be honest, I remember looking at the top tier of the Town and Country Club, which had little lights, little sort of side lights at it, you know. And I was looking at them as I was performing, and I was imagining all these people judging me.
Of course they were.
And I utterly resented it.
Of course you did.
And gave the most bad-tempered, stompy performance.
Did she?
That I'd ever managed to do. And it was a weird evening. I thought the band sounded brilliant. I thought we were superb, but that was when that cycle of Hue and Cry sort of came to an end. But it's a very neat way to end a year, 1991, and with open arms and open eyes and open heart, open minds for what we were going to do the year after.
Anyway, back to you being a grumpy guy on the stage.
Why? Why do I have to labour it?
Well, you wouldn't have. I think they would have seen through it if you were playing it up to them. I don't think you can be too hard on yourself, because these record company guys weren't stupid, Pat.
Yeah.
They would have seen it. I mean, there were a few of them would have thought, he's too much of a handful.
But you know what, Gregory? I just realised, looking through the timeline, I probably wasn't in the best of spirits. Let's put it as politely as that.
If anyone has a recording of that gig,
Yeah. And particularly the cheery chat in between songs, that would just be great.
Hello.
Yes, the I Am Jolly of Sophistipop.